Hey, thank you for joining in on another episode of the Prize Podcast, where we talk about how sports and the Christian worldview intersect one another. Today's topic that we're going to really hint at is barriers, and I talked about it in a previous episode. Um, Barriers. What are some barriers that prevent you from accomplishing a mission, or maybe prevent you from accomplishing something? I know for me, one of the biggest things that I like to do is I like to be sure to where I can build things on my own, or sometimes I like to do a task on my own. But then when I fail at it, I get frustrated, and then someone will ask for someone will say, "Hey, do you need any help?" It's like, "No, I got it. I got it. I got this. I got this." Right? And a lot of times we can be stubborn like that. We can be stubborn to think, "Oh, well, I don't need that help. I'll cry out, but I don't need help." Um, and so that can be a barrier from us completing our mission. Sometimes it's brokenness. Sometimes it can be an unfortunate circumstance that prevents us from a mission, or maybe even from delivering a message of hope. Maybe you are joyful about life and you like to express that, but then something has prevented you from doing that, whether that be a death in the family, whether it be an injury, whether that be sickness, or whatever it may be, anxiety. There can be all host of different things that can prevent us from sharing a message of hope, or even prevent us from doing our calling and our mission. Well, one of the things that I've seen that seems, one of the things that can prevent us from doing certain things is not knowing what our mission and calling is, really, when it's all said and done. And then again, sometimes it doesn't have to be we don't understand. We may understand the message, we may understand what the mission is, but a lot of times what can happen is that when it comes to the mission or the message, um, circumstances, context, struggles can prevent us from absorbing those things. One story today that illustrates that really well is JJ McCarthy. He's one of the was going to be the guy, I think, for the Minnesota Vikings this year. He had a torn meniscus and he is going to be out for the remainder of the season, which is a really sad situation for them. Kind of puts a damper on their season in the beginning. You're thinking, oh, we're going to get better. We had 10th overall pick in JJ McCarthy, defending, or someone who's a national championship winner for Michigan, and we're going to do well. Tears his meniscus, which seems like a pretty correctable injury. I've seen people that have meniscus tear. I've had a meniscus tear and have not had any issues with it. But then sometimes that's not always the case. There's more damage than there was thought to be. Another instance of maybe something where we didn't think it was going to be the way it was going to be. You've seen this through the Olympics. Is the story of Rachel Gunn? She's the one that's the Australian dancer. A lot of mixed feelings on people from that. I know for me, it was kind of weird because I was like, at first, some people were like, "Is she being for real?" Because they see it and they're like, "This doesn't look like some of the other break dancing." First of all, I was confused that break dancing was even an Olympic sport. Like, I was like, "What? This is Olympic sport? This is awesome." Um, but there's been mixed reactions. There's been mixed barriers to Rachel Gunn's dance. Some people have thought it's a joke. In fact, she's even come out recently and said, "Stop talking about the bullying that's coming with it, or the criticism." I have my mixed thoughts on that. I think if you're on a national stage, you got to be open to the criticism. You got to be open to what people are going to say. And unfortunately, that happens in sports. You're going to get criticized in ways that maybe you don't deserve, but yet it happens. And that's what happened to her, is that she received a criticism, and I think it's prevented her from really exercising the joy she had in the mission, the joy that she had in the message that she wanted to deliver through her dancing that she was what she was trying to do. And so a lot of times that happens. Well, that happens in the Christian life too, right? We give our life to Christ, we're obedient to Christ, barrier comes in the way, right? One of the things I always tell my students is when they get baptized, and we even have a female student leader that always says this. Her name's Mackenzie Flynn. She always says this. She says this to a lot of the females. She said, you know, "You've had this big life change. You've been baptized. All these great things have happened. Wait for Satan, because he is going to try to attack. He's going to try to attack you in your highest moment. Sometimes it's not our most vulnerable moment. Sometimes it can even be in our highest moment." Um, Moses, called by God to go to deliver the people. And even though he had excuses, God was like, "I'm going to give you Aaron. So he brings Aaron with him, and he thinks, "Oh man, we're going to go to Pharaoh." He feels insufficient, but then when God, says, "Hey, you can do this because I'm going to be with you," he then goes at it kind of in a little bit of a flippant manner before Pharaoh, and Pharaoh rejects him, and it's a deep rejection, and ends up being several barriers to it. One, Pharaoh hardens his heart towards God, which is a barrier to him understanding the message that God's bringing to rescue his people, the Israelites in Exodus. But then also this in general too, the barrier of the Israelites not understanding God's message to rescue. If you look in Exodus 6, 1 through 13, you see this message of, I will redeem you, I will rescue you, I will bring you out, but I'm going to bring you in. And it's this vision or this imagery of adoption. Like, I am God the Father who's going to adopt my children. You are my people. I will be with you. It's all of the stuff. But then yet, what's the very thing that prevents them from listening to the message? It's not a lack of understanding. It's not necessarily, you know, them not believing in God, but yet it's the belief of, it just seems too good to be true because I see everything that's going on. I see the harsh labor. I see the brokenness that I've been through 400 years of slavery, and I just don't see it. And a lot of times that can prevent people, non believers, from hearing the gospel at times because their hearts can become jaded towards the gospel. See, I just can't understand why God would do this. So I just can't. It's too good to be true. It just doesn't seem like it's just real. Or if you're a Christian, you may have doubt, and that may creep in, and that may be a barrier to say, all right, God, you said that you rescued me, but yet there's been things in my life that have not changed. Like, my parents are still fighting. Or that I'm using that as an example. Maybe your parents are having a struggling marriage, or uh, maybe you're personally having a struggling marriage, or whatever that may be. There could be multiplicity of reasons, of barriers to the message. And so, what I want us to understand, number one, as Christians, is we have to understand that when God called us to salvation, He did not call us to ease. He said, the world's going to hate you, but take heart, I've overcome the world. That's hard for us to understand because on the other side of the cross and the resurrection, we hear that, we experienced it, some people, you got saved, you received the message of salvation, but then you see some of the circumstances of your life, and you're like, nothing was really changed. Well, sometimes God doesn't change those certain situations because He wants to use those as avenues to show even more how great and how mighty He is. That's the reason why God can say in the book of Exodus, now you will see. God's so timely in all of it, right? He knows exactly when and where He wants to do things. And at the lowest moment, when you think you're at your lowest moment, God's like, I got it. I got it. You think you might have it, but you don't. I have it. I'm the one that will come face to face with your greatest enemy. Your greatest enemy is not your bad circumstances, not to diminish those. Your biggest thing is that there is a separation that can be created, a barrier between you and God because of doubt. If you're an unbeliever, it is because of sin, that separates us from the Lord. And the only one that can bridge that gap, who did it at the right time, says that Christ came at just the right time, perfect timing. It talks about that He came and He saved us while we were yet sinners. Christ died for the ungodly. So that is the best news we can hear, is that even in the barriers, God shows His blessings and shows, hey, I'm still in here. I'm still in with you. And even when you think things are going bad and things are not going well, I'm going to be with you and I'm going to carry you through. And I'm going to show you exactly how to complete that mission and how you can trust the message from the messenger. Thank you for joining in on the Prize Podcast, where we talk about how sports and the Christian worldview intersect one another. If you'd like to email me, pursuetheprize@gmail.com. That could be a way if you have any questions about today's message, or you can follow me on Twitter, or formerly known as Twitter, now known as X, at KMoneyDH. It's been a pleasure to see you on the show, and I will be back for another episode of the Prize Podcast. See you later.